this concept of people attacking a company, this concept of like the moat around the company, and that's how you keep yourself. It's just not the way it works. That's not. It's it just doesn't work like that. That you are the risk. Every individual person is the risk, because there's no concepts of this network anymore. This we've got to be thinking much more about zero trust. We've got to be thinking much more about like the individuals and protecting at that level and protecting the data at that level. We've got to be thinking much more about like really focusing in on getting to the stuff that really matters. And that's from I'm entirely biased, but I believe that the thing that everyone should think about first when it comes to security is the data, right? So start there, start with the people, start with the data, and work your way out from there. Because whatever else we're trying to do at the moment, and I'm not denying that you don't need, firewalls, intrusion detect, all of that. Of course you need that stuff, but like, you need to start, I kind of think you need to start the other way. You need to start thinking about the stuff you want to protect. How do we only give people access to the stuff that we need to give access to? How do we really make sure that they're operating in a way that's appropriate around the stuff that we really care about? And how do we not give access to people that don't need it? How can we start operating in that way as an organization in a practical sense? If we can fix that problem, I reckon we'd solve a ton of problems with so many of these issues that happen. I just think people are spending money on the wrong things. They're putting their focus on the wrong things. And it's just not data centric enough. It's not thinking about the stuff that matters the most.
I agree completely, and I think we're one of the first steps in doing that. And there's part of the hesitation around that is, well, which data is? What's the important data?
That's right.
What's the important data?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that being able to identify that and point to that first, and sort of say, right, that's the first step. The first step is, sort of to your point, recognizing the problem.
Where's the risk? That's right. What is it?
Where's the risk? Right. Yeah. Right. Let's circle all of these areas. Let's print it all out and circle all the areas with a red pen. Right. Where we actually have risk. And then once we've done that, then we can make the decisions as to how best to identify those areas of risk.
Right.
But if we sort of do this, if we just say, sort of in a general sense, well, there's risk everywhere. Right. Then we will never have a specific enough solution or specific enough set of solutions that provide the type of protection that we need. Identifying and classifying the data up front is a crucial step. We absolutely need to do that. And then saying, okay, we've identified it. Now let's actually protect it. Is the second crucial step.
That's right. Yeah. Right. And let's do that in a way that actually doesn't interfere with the user experience. Actually, people like doing, not just that that we make it easy for them, but they actually enjoy doing it. It's something in experience that they like when they're thinking, well, this makes sense. I've got however you want to do it, whether it's a mobile app or whatever it is, just finding a way of enabling people to interact with that data in a secure way and actually protecting it really simply. That's got to happen. That's got to happen. Absolutely right.
There's another I think important psychological attitude that I think is often ignored within the information security industry. There's an assumption that users will be annoyed by having to go through extra steps, right? And the reality is, if a user understands, the nature of what they're protecting and why they're going through the extra step, and that's, I'm not going to say that that's easy to communicate. By no means am I going to say that it's easy to communicate that fact, right? But if you give someone, if you blindfold somebody, right, and you say, carry this object from point A to point B, and they don't know what they're carrying, right? Right. Turns out, by the way, they're carrying a plate full of eggs, okay? But they don't know they're carrying that plate full of eggs. Right? They're blindfolded, right? They're walking from point A to point B. They're going to go as quickly as they can, point A to point B. They're not going to really care, right? And they're not going to know what needs to be done, tiptoe, step lightly to protect the eggs, right? You take off the blindfold and you say, you have a bunch of eggs, and you look, they see you point at them, and you say, and the person says, oh my goodness, I'm carrying a bunch of eggs, right? And then you say, by the way, these are actually really expensive eggs, and let's not break these, and they're hard to come by. We're in the middle of a pandemic, right? In the middle of a pandemic, food shopping is a pain in the neck. Please don't break the eggs. People will say, shoot, you're right, okay? let me step lightly and let me walk carefully from point A to point B. And people will begin to actually care about taking responsibility, and they'll realize that the incremental effort to walk from point A to point B, stepping lightly, is so de minimis, and the impact of potentially not breaking the eggs is so terrific that they'll happily do it, right? But conveying that message and sort of getting that attitude across, I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm just going to say it's important to do.
And that's interesting, because I suppose obviously one of the other the byproducts of actually, let's just say take encryption for example, one of the byproducts of encrypting the data is you're actually also sending a message to that person that, oh, this stuff matters. Like, it matters enough that we're gonna make you do this, which means they're less likely to do anything stupid with it, because they obviously think you care about it. So, oh, maybe I should care about it too. Maybe I should think about how I'm going to treat this, because the company thinks it's important enough that they're going to encrypt this to stop other people getting it. So maybe that also has that effect as well.
Yes. So it's funny. One of the features that we added early on to our platform is we added these little badges to in the context of unstructured data. You have a file, you have a PDF file, you have a Word document, and we have a little badge on the bottom of the document that indicates that it is indeed encrypted. And at first, I sort of said, "This is, who cares about that?" Because one of my developers suggested this, and I said, "Well, why do we need this for? This is ridiculous, right? It's just and somebody else pointed out to me, no. These little visual cues to the user are crucial, because this is sort of the thing where you're taking off the blindfold and saying, "No, you're carrying eggs here, right? Please don't fall, please don't trip, right?" And that turned out to be correct. I was completely wrong. It turned out to be a crucial feature, because it gives people a sense of responsibility, and they realize, well, this is actually an important thing that I'm dealing with. Going through this extra step is worthwhile because this document actually matters, right? And then when they open the document and they see that there is a whole bunch of personally identifying information, a whole bunch of information that could be subject to GDPR in the in the EU or the various regulations in the US, they sort of it's congruent with that little badge.
That's right.
Right? So they know, and it's psychologically, it fits together. And then there's much less pushback, because they're sort of saying to themselves, "Oh, yes, that is actually important. Very well, then we'll treat it as such."